Imagine if I told you today Trump refuses to visit El Paso because he doesn't want to visit them. He doesn't want to visit the victims of the El Paso shooting. What would be your reaction then? Would you be pissed off that he wasn't going to visit the victims of such a tragedy? I'm pretty sure you would. So, what happens when Trump tries to go to El Paso, which he actually did, and then the people say, we don't want you here? That's kind of the sad part about the standards when it comes to individuals that hate Trump. They just hate him because it's just Trump. They don't like him, and they would rather make themselves look bad instead of having the president do something good for a change. Good in the sense that something that's morally good. Trump tried to visit El Paso. The people didn't want that. A lot of people got angry that he visited him. But imagine if Trump hadn't done that in the first place. Imagine if Trump chose to not visit El Paso. Can you imagine what the media would have said about Trump? They would have said Trump refuses to visit victims. Trump is a heartless man. But when he tries to do something that's actually a good thing and in terms on moral standards, what do people do? They push him away. They tell him, we don't want you here. And I think that's the sad part about it. I get it. If you do not like the guy, that's fine. I respect that. And I can't force you to change your mind. That's only up to you to change your mind. But we also got to understand that when someone we don't like does something good, or at least try to do something good, we cannot deny them that opportunity. We can't. I mean, we can't. If Trump tries to come to El Paso in order to try to, console the people and try to address the situation about what happened, why would people want to push him away? He's the president. It's like you guys would have gotten mad, right? You guys would have gotten mad if he hadn't shown up. So why are we getting mad when he shows up? The article's from the New York Times and it reads, Trump comes to console, El Paso says no thanks. It's from an hour ago. Earlier this year in the State of the Union address, President Trump described to the nation how the Texas border city of El Paso once had an extremely high rate of violent crime and was considered one of our nation's most dangerous cities. Then he turned it into the living argument for his border wall. And the powerful barrier in place, he went on, El Paso is one of the safest cities in our country. Simply put, walls work and walls save lives. In this West Texas border city, founded 360 years ago as an outpost of the Spanish Empire, those words festered. So did words Mr. Trump repeated. So did words Mr. Trump repeated at a rally he held on the city's outskirts a few weeks earlier. Murders, 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 he said, in reference to the immigrants as the crowd chanted, "Build the wall." For many in El Paso, the potentially devastating consequence of the anger over immigration and race became apparent this weekend when 22 people were killed at a Walmart and the white suspect warned of a Hispanic invasion, plunging the city into mourning. So Mr. Trump returned, this time to say he wanted to help the city grieve. This is one of the tweets from Simon Romero. Latinos across the U.S. are expressing fear and alarm in the aftermath of the El Paso massacre. Read these quotes. It feels like I'm being hunted. It's the death of the American dream. I live in this terror for my grandkids. That's what Simon Romero put on his tweet. But rarely in recent memory has a relationship between a president and a city been so fraught. As Mr. Trump arrived here on Wednesday to try to meet the victims, protesters gathered at the memorial outside of the scene of the carnage, many angry at the president's visit. The El Paso Times published a letter to Mr. Trump defending the city, which lies just across the border from the Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez, and its deep sense of bicultural identity. Our city and Juarez were always linked. Today we are intertwined more than ever. The evil that visited us targeted people from El Paso and Juarez alike, it said. Our people are scared. And so this predominantly Hispanic city and a state whose leadership is tightly aligned with the administration's anti-immigration agenda tried this week to chart its own course through America's troubled political waters. El Paso officials pointed out that the Trump campaign still owes the city more than $500,000 for the security costs of a rally in February, veered between rejecting the president's politics and welcoming his attempt to recognize the city's grief. This is the office of the mayor of El Paso in an official capacity, welcoming the office of the president of the United States, which I consider is my formal duty," said Margo, the mayor. Others in the city had no patience for such diplomacy. Absolutely everything that Trump stands for was concentrated and fired at the citizens of El Paso that day at Walmart, said Christopher Bailey, 43, a project coordinator for an El Paso health clinic. Shame should be hung around the neck for every supporter that continues to justify his language and his presidency. At the memorial outside the Walmart, that was the scene of Saturday's attack and at a poster-making event that the night before the protest, many said the president should not have come. There's Simon Romero, another tweet from Simon Romero says, "This is the United States now. A two-month-old baby, Paul Gilbert Anchondo, I think that's how you pronounce it, orphaned and wounded, by the El Paso terror attack. Our story on this family and the victims. And that's the end of the tweet. It's his words that created the climate that led to the hateful man to come to my community, said Lida Nes Garcia, a lawyer and an organizer for the Women's March of El Paso, who was at the poster event. He said that when Mr. Trump painted El Paso as a dangerous city that needed stronger barriers between it and Mexico, he was using the city as nothing more than a prop. El Paso was one of the safest American cities of its size long before barriers went up at the border and violent crime is relatively low. It's factually false. It's just untrue. It's nothing but some mythed up white rage, she said. He needs to apologize and take his words back. In an extraordinary series of tweets on the night before the president's arrival, Representative Veronica Escobar, a Democrat representing El Paso in Congress, underscored the way in which the city was taking on a leading role, even in the conservative state like Texas, in opposing Mr. Trump. Only about 26% of the voters in El Paso County voted for Mr. Trump in 2016. Obviously, there's a tweet from Veronica Escobar, which says, "The White House invited me to join at real Donald Trump during his visit to El Paso. My response was clear. I requested a phone call with him today in order to share what I have now heard from my constituents, including some who are victims of Saturday's attack." Ms. Escobar revealed that the White House had invited her to join Mr. Trump during Wednesday's visit, but she said she had requested a phone call with the president in an effort to explain that the language he uses to describe Latinos, sometimes equating them with violent criminals, is dehumanizing. Republican said that he has responsibility to acknowledge the power of his words, apologize for them, and take them back because they're still hanging over us. Ms. Escobar wrote. The president, she said, was too busy to talk, and she declined to join him in his visit. I refuse to be an accessory to his visit. El Paso treasures its place as part of the community that straddles two countries. Its vibrancy, many said, comes from its bond to Mexico, with a history that is older than that of the United States. He doesn't really know who you are, said Judy Lugo, president of the Texas State Employees Union, which represents some 10,000 state workers, of Mr. Trump's visit. He doesn't know our culture, the long history we have. He doesn't understand. We are a community of love, a community of family, Ms. Lugo said. We are not what he says we are. We are not rapists. We are not dirty. We are not criminals. Across the city, some residents worried that Mr. Trump's visit might do more harm than good. He's just putting salt on the wound. Nina Mari Ochoa, 29, a teacher, said of Mr. Trump's visit, referring to the white nationalist who expresses views like those of the suspect in the attack and the recent detention in 10 camps of thousands of migrants arriving in El Paso. She said, "I think that the way he has empowered those voices to give them a license to act on it, you see this in the way that people talk about ICE and Border Patrol and their complacency and with concentration camps." I'm going to take a break here for a bit. I think it's really redundant that she's not redundant. I think it's really inappropriate for her to be literally using the concentration camp rhetoric. I mean, it's really pathetic. I mean, does she not know that Obama built those cages and deported more illegal immigrants compared to Trump? But no one batted an eye then. You want to know why? Because if you criticized Obama, you were racist against black people. So I don't see why she's bringing up this rhetoric. But anyways, let's continue. Wednesday's visit was intended as an opportunity for Mr. Trump to console family members and survivors and help commemorate those who died in Saturday's attack, but few seemed ready to bridge a gap between the city and the president that had grown wide even before the shooting. El Paso's culture has been influenced both by its proximity to Mexico and its distance from so much of the rest of the states, said Richard Pineda, a political communications professor at the University of Texas, El Paso. In a previous era, before jet travel, a trip to El Paso from many cities could be 10 hours or more. It still takes 11 hours to drive there from Houston. It is in a different time zone than the rest of Texas. The city, he said, was not as tolerant as some might portray it, yet a certain influence comes from living so close to another country, with the vibrancy, poverty, and sometimes violence of Ciudad Juarez visible on the other side of the border fence. You literally get to see a totally different world, he said. As Mr. Trump has used El Paso as a stage for promoting his immigration policies, some of the state's politicians have used it as an example of a counter-narrative. The city's former representative in Congress, Beto O'Rourke, now running as a Democrat for president, often talks about El Paso's experience as a bicultural city to criticize the administration's handling of the surge and migrant arrivals at the southern border. Ms. Escobar has made frequent appearances on television condemning the treatment of migrants in crowded detention centers, many of them in El Paso and nearby. Yet some of Trump's messages have found support in El Paso, though few were eager to talk about it, much in the mood of grieving anger that prevailed on Wednesday. Jordan Flores, 20, who buzzes tables at the Peter Piper Pizza, showed up outside Walmart wearing a MAGA hat. He said he remained a supporter of the president, though he felt uneasy about the killings. Were able to put into the rhetoric that I'm supposed to be the racist or homophobic person. It is just not true, Mr. Flores said. My heart goes out to every single person that was affected by the massacre. Jason Carr, 53, who describes himself as a libertarian, said it was clear even to him that it would have been better for the president to not have come to El Paso. It's pretty clear that he wasn't wanted, he said. You can see the hurt in people's eyes. He said of the attack, it's still so fresh after only a few days. It's just so wrong. There are just so many layers of how wrong it was. Now, this concludes the article. But here's the thing. I don't care what you think about Trump, but I think that, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on this. Had Trump chosen not to visit El Paso, can you imagine what people would have thought? What people would have said? Trump supports white supremacy due to not visiting El Paso. Trump supports NRA but not visiting El Paso. Can you imagine all those articles? And now when he tries to do something, something morally good, not for the first time, of course, but when he tries to do something morally good, he tries to go and help people grieve for what people have lost. People say, we don't want you here. That kind of shows the double standard of the things. So, you don't want the guy to, like, whenever Trump does try to do something good, people try to prevent him from doing those things. And those are the people that hate him. It's really sad. Now, people like, Flores and, people like Flores and I think, what was I see? Let me check for a minute, see. So people like, it's like Jordan Flores and Jason Carr, I actually, you could see, again, I'm actually applaud them for being brave enough to still support the president. But again, I don't think this is something to do with the president anyway. Again, all the stuff, illegal immigration was going on even before Trump. Just because something is infested with crime in a city doesn't necessarily mean it's due to a minority. And the thing is this right now, as much as I do not like Trump, I do believe that to some degree we need to have a certain system in which people come into this country legally. I don't think you asking someone to come into the country legally is a racist thing to say. For example, if a black man knocks at your door, he looks really suspicious. He looks like he's carrying a gun, right? Or he looks like he's up to no good. Let's just say he's up to no good. He looks like he's up to no good. He's a little shifty. He's panicking a little bit, and then he's asking you if he can come in for a few minutes. If you say no, are you racist towards black people for not letting a stranger into your house? Of course not. You want to know who he is. You want to know why he wants to come in, right? That's the exact same thing when it comes to our borders. You want to know who's coming in. You want to know why they're coming in. And you want to know if they have anything, anything suspicious on them, any criminal records, if they're criminals at all, if they're trafficking any drugs. That's what you want. It's not racist to ask people coming into your country, asking them why are they here? Why are they here? Why are they coming here? Who are they? It's not racist to ask, but people consider that racist. But like I said, I don't want to make this an immigration issue. But I think it's really hypocritical that people are telling Trump not to visit El Paso. They're telling him to go away. But I'm pretty sure that had he chosen not to visit El Paso, people would have lost their minds anyway. In this case, Trump cannot win. He has to acknowledge that in some cases, Trump will never win in certain cases because if he does something, he loses. If he does the opposite thing, he still loses. It's a lose-lose situation. In this case, I think this was a lose-lose situation because they don't want him to do anything at this point. They want to make him look bad regardless, and I think that's really immature. But anyways, it's going to conclude the video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that El Paso should have not protested Trump's appearance? Do you think that the media would have gotten mad had Trump chosen not to visit El Paso? Do you think Trump tried to do something good? Trying to do morally good? In the sense that he tried to visit people who are grieving for the lost ones. And even though Trump has advocated for more, again, stronger gun control policies, again, I think he hasn't advocated for that. Do you think that people are still not going to want to listen to them, even though he's giving the left something that they want? Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, share it, like the video as well. Hit the notification button as well that we never miss an upload after you subscribe. And then there's going to be 2 more segments, one regarding Star Wars, the other one regarding Macaulay Culkin, which I did cover a video about it yesterday regarding the Home Alone reboot. But hopefully you guys can stick around for those. If you can't, have a good rest of the day, you guys. Stay awesome.